Tim Schafer. We've all heard the stories. Tim was an aspiring gamer who applied to Lucasfilm's fledgling games division for a job, where he screwed up the interview, admitting he played a pirated version of one of their major games. However, he still sent in his application, which included one of the most original cover letters ever made, and he ended up getting the job. Tim would work his way up at LucasArts to writing the original Secret of Monkey Island to being one of the main people behind Day of the Tentacle. LucasArts would use an engine known as the Scripting Creation Utility for Maniac Mansion, or SCUM for short. So today, for our first week of Tim Schafer month, we look at one of his last games using the engine. Full Throttle. Full Throttle will be released in 1995 for both PC and Mac, and 20 years on, nothing else. No Steam release, not even a release on Good Old Game. Finding a copy on eBay is sort of hard. Not because it's rare, but because you usually get shitty movies and even shittier games appear before it in the search results. So I could buy a copy of a 20-year-old game and hope to try and get it to run on a system not even envisioned back then. Or hey, I'm going to hell anyway. SCUM VM is a virtual machine emulator designed to be able to run SCUM-based games on current machines. Performance is great, and the open source project has been ported to everywhere. And I literally mean everywhere. Handheld devices ranging from iPhone, Android, to even WebOS. And consoles like the N64, the Dreamcast, the PS2, and probably the best console to play these games on, the Wii. So, let's not waste any more time and check out Full Throttle.
Whenever I smell asphalt, I think of marine. That's the last sensation I had.
We opened up with a narration from the main character Ben, and opens up in the future on respected and last motorbike manufacturer Malcolm Corley as Associate Rip Burger, played by Mark Hamill. Can we just turn on subs for a moment?
That's horrible. I am not waiting for you to die.
Anyway, Malcolm and Rip Burger are having a conversation about the upcoming Corley Motors shareholders meeting when Ben and his gang, the Polecats, drive past. Or over in Ben's case.
Now there goes some boys I can ride with.
Malcolm confronts the Polecats at a local dive, and him and Ben bond, until Rip Burger offers a proposal for Ben and his gang to accompany them to the meeting. Ben refuses, but is then lured into a trap in the shape of a 2x4. After waking up from his dumpster nap and getting his keys back, he heads off to catch up with his gang that are left with Rip Burger, only to fall victim to sabotage. Ben and his bike are rescued by mechanic Maureen, and after finding the parts needed is back on the open road, at which time, sadly, Rip Burger decides to finally shove Malcolm into permanent retirement.
You shouldn't have laughed at me in those board meetings, Malcolm.
With his last words, Malcolm begs Ben to save his company from Rip Burger's plans of producing minivans by finding his long-lost daughter, who is, you guessed it, Maureen. But not before Ben and his gang are framed for Malcolm's murder. Can Ben prove his innocence and live to ride another day? Full Throttle plays like any other LucasArts point-and-click game. Click, choose your action, and using items when needed. Unlike other adventure games, Full Throttle at least has some logic to it. For an engine that's been in use since 1987, Full Throttle is probably the best looking of all of them. using basic 3D pre-rendered features as well. The biggest issue, however, is the combat sections. The main one is having a one-on-one fight with another biker, and moving left and right while either kicking, punching, or using any number of weapons. The problem is that it's really fairly basic, and getting defeated is really annoying. But then there is the destruction derby later on, and it handles like trying to drive a car without a steering wheel, or gear shift, or even a seat. The game will leave veteran adventure players kind of disappointed. While the story and characters are great, the length is minuscule compared to others that could last well into double digits, and also being kind of the easy side. The voice work is very impressive. We've already touched on Mark's role as the evil Ripburger, but there's also Kath Soki, known for Phil and Lil DeVille from Rugrats, playing Maureen, and the brain, Maurice Lamachi, playing one of Ripburger's cronies. But the real star is Roy Conrad, who plays the deep voice of Ben.
Run, Ripburger. When it's time to find you, we'll just follow the shiny trail.
As one of the developers said, we had been through boxes of audition tapes without much luck. When you advertise that you're looking for a tough biker character, you get a lot of guys trying to be tough, growling, yelling, and forcing a lot of attitude. And then we put in Roy's tape, and out came this effortless, deep, rich, bass sound. And that was that. We didn't even listen to another tape. Sadly, Roy passed away in 2002 from lung cancer. Despite what that might suggest with his voice, Roy was never a smoker. Full Throttle probably stands as one of my personal favourite LucasArts games, and I would have loved to have seen a sequel. And we almost did. Twice. In 2000, work started on Full Throttle Payback, but by this time, Tim had already left LucasArts, and sadly the game was not even half finished before disagreements started and the game was cancelled. Then later in 2002, Full Throttle Hell on Wheels was announced for PC, PS2 and Xbox, and would focus on action and fighting rather than adventure. This is a trailer that was shown at E3 2003, but reception was negative, citing poor graphics, and it would also be cancelled. Sadly though, a new Full Throttle now seems very unlikely. However, during his time developing the game, Tim had an idea where Ben would go on a peyote-induced hallucinating trip. But it was rejected. Tim held on to that idea. Held on to it for our next episode. See you then.